Well, welcome to Leamington Spa, everybody, and to the Spa Centre. My name is Leanne Green, and as you can see to my left, we have a panel of industry experts today. So thank you for giving your time. And the session will run for about 35 minutes, and then there'll be lots of time for questions. So think of those questions as we go through. And hopefully this will be quite conversational and low-key, and hopefully you'll go away with some really great knowledge for your future and your careers in the industry. So starting on my left, we've got Hernan.
Yeah, hello everyone. Hernan, you can call me Nano, it's easier. I'm from Sumo Leamington. I'm a lead UI designer. I have been working here for 2 years and a half. I'm from Chile, so sorry about my English. Sometimes I get a struggle like understanding, so it's nothing personal, it's me. So yeah, welcome.
And next to Hernan, we have Lucia Vasquez, and you are the games economy designer for Ubisoft Leamington Spa.
That's right. Hello, yeah. Hi, I'm Lucia. I'm from Spain. I didn't know you were from Chile. We could have a Spanish conversation later.
Okay, that's cool.
Gone international.
I've been in the industry for about 4 years. I work for Ubisoft at the moment. We're working on an unannounced game, so I can't say much about it. But yeah, I'm an economy designer at the moment. But before that, I was a technical artist as well. So I've had a bit of a diverse experience in these 4 years I've been in the industry.
Thank you. And then we have Darby Munns, who is the community manager for Soul Assembly.
Hi, yeah, I'm Darby. I've been working for Soul Assembly for about 2 years, and it is my first role in the industry as well. So, yeah, nice to meet you all.
And finally, we have Chris Groves, who is the senior community manager for Sumo Leamington Spa.
Yep. Morning, everybody. Hello. Yeah, I'm Chris. I work with awesome people like Nano at Sumo Leamington. I'm from Devon in the UK, so sorry as well for my English. Yeah, I've been in the industry for nearly 6 years, and I've been at Sumo Leamington since January of last year. But yeah, as a senior community manager, team community over here. So.
And just very briefly, why am I on the stage? Well, I'm a content creator, journalist, and I'm also an academic. So I'm one of the lecturers at SAE in Leamington Spa. Those of you who would have heard of SAE, we've been running since 1976, so some time now. But we're creative university degrees where we run 2-year degrees, and those degrees are in the games industry, and we're based here in Leamington. And those of you who know the Creative Quarter or where the assembly rooms are, we are based in the Fold, and our campus is next door as well. So we do a lot of industry. So I'm I suppose I'm here as the educational arm for today's talk. So if you have any questions for myself or for my team, we're also running workshops here today as well, so you can get to find out a little bit more about education in relation to the games industry, depending on what stage you are in that journey. A big part of today's talk, really, we do need to focus on the importance of the transferable skills in industry, but also to look at the equality, diversity within industry as well, and the growth of the sector. And it's really important that with our industry people here today, we get to find out exactly what it's like working in this community, but also how to get in. So that's what we're going to get. So those key questions that hopefully we'll be able to ask by the time you will leave here today feeling completely fulfilled and knowledgeable. So my first question is, how did we get into industry? And if you're happy to, we'll just go in a row. But again, if there's any questions that you have or you want to add any more. So Hernan, with yourself. So how did your industry engagement start?
Yeah, my story was a little bit weird because I'm a graphic designer, so I went out of the university in 2007. I'm a little bit old now. And when I arrived, I'm from Chile, so there was only one video game company in Latin America those years in Chile. So I went there like exposing because I thought I was good drawing. So when I arrived there was like a lot of illustrators that it was like, okay, I don't belong here. But my old boss has a space like on UI, user interface, that those years was not even a department, didn't exist on those years. So I started doing that and was something that I really like, but those years was very different than the UI you do now. We only produce game for PS3 and Xbox those years, and was very limited, and you only have to follow some manuals. It's very different in the world, but yeah, that's my expertise. I just went there, I requested a job, and I started working in this, and here I am.
Fantastic. But every journey is different, isn't it? But it's interesting that some of us think that we're just going to go straight into industry, and actually sometimes there are other skills and areas in the creative sector where we find ourselves just naturally falling into that space. And also a bit of history there, a bit of, the industry has hugely changed over the years in relation to the technology, the sort of interfaces, the audience has massively grown. I mean, personally being involved as a journalist and in content creation, if you think that, the games industry now is absolutely on par with film, television, as entertainment. So it's a hugely growing sector, isn't it? Okay, so would you like to tell us your introduction to industry?
Yes, of course. So if you had asked me, well, if you had told me that I was going to be working in video games now, I would be like, funny, good one, yeah. Because I always played video games when I was a kid, but they were like a thing of magic to me. I never even thought that they were made by people. It was completely out of the question for me. So for university, I did mechanical engineering with like a focus on product design. I was always a bit of a weird one. I had a very eye for detail and creativity, but I also really liked maths and physics, and those were always my favorite subjects at school. So I had to find something that combined them both. Thought about doing architecture for a while, and then I settled for engineering. And when I graduated, it was the same year that COVID happened, yay. So I had signed a graduate position with JCB, which is a company that makes excavators and diggers, and I was super excited for it. And I had stopped looking for jobs. I was like, I'm set, I'm done. And then COVID happened. They canceled the graduate program there because it was on-site and it was a bit risky at the time. And so I had to scramble and look for new jobs. And I came across an opportunity within Ubisoft, which was called Technical Artist. And I was like, I have no idea what that is, but technical and artist, that could be me. So I read through the application and I said, you know what, I'm a bit desperate. I'll give it a go. It would be really cool to work in video games. I love designing for play ever since I was in uni. And it worked out. So, you never realize the opportunities that are open to you, and it's all about the transferable skills that you were talking about earlier. Without my degree, I wouldn't have been able to sell myself enough to Ubisoft to get where I am today. So, but yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, a perfect example here of the journey that we take. We think about, well, I need to choose the right degree to take me on the right path. And there's always this focus on we have to be doing the right thing at the right time. And I would say fundamentally, you need to be able to enjoy what you're studying. You need to make sure that degree has those transferable skills. And you need to look at what's happening in industry at that point. Never just put your head in the air and think, well, I think I'll do this. Look at what's happening. It's all out there. I mean, you can see the trends in industry. But as I say, fundamentally, you have to enjoy it. I'd love to have worked for JCB. That's quite exciting.
I know, right? Wow. I was excited. But hey, I'm really happy with where I ended up. I wouldn't change it for the world. So yeah.
It affected your mode of transport today, I imagine, if you were.
Yeah.
So Darby, how about yourself?
Well, I guess like everyone here, I had sort of a bit of a different route into the games industry. So I studied biology, and then I did a master's in veterinary epidemiology, which is quite different from community management. But whilst I was at university, I started streaming on Twitch. And then obviously I graduated, and that was when COVID was happening as well. So it was like, ooh. So I applied for actually quite a few roles in epidemiology, but none of them really stuck. And then I just thought I would use my background from streaming on Twitch and the community that I'd grew on there, and use that as experience to apply for quite a few community management roles. And then, luckily I was able to get one, and the rest has been history, I guess. I'm very happy that I did make the switch from epidemiology to community management. It's very interesting, very fun on a day-to-day basis. Whereas, I mean, if you like stats, that's fine, good for you. But I didn't like it that much. But yeah.
That's incredible. So again, your transferable skills in the office, I imagine if somebody's cat's not well, you can have a conversation about how to, what to do next.
Yeah.
And Chris, finally yourself, how did you get into industry? We know you're from Devon, but we need to know the rest.
Yes, so I went to university and I studied sports journalism, which is, I guess, somewhat kind of like an adjacent role to the games industry. Do you want me to answer it? Sorry. I studied sports journalism around kind of the start of this decade, and when I started the course, I was very quickly told that roles in journalism can be very difficult to find, especially down in Devon, where opportunities generally can be quite difficult to find. So make sure to look in kind of other adjacent areas, especially in marketing. So I kept an eye on that, but at the same time, I worked for a few years at a football club down in Devon, and kind of grew my experience in the world of kind of media and marketing and written stuff, but also live media, like video and content for website and print. I just used that to kind of build like a portfolio of work. So I tried to kind of make my way into that industry, but it was very, very difficult. So I kept my options open. Was always a massive gamer when I was growing up. I especially loved like games from certain companies based in Leamington Spa. So I kind of kept an eye on those companies, and you consume content from those brands and those channels. You go, who's making this content and how are they creating this content? And you start looking on their forums and looking kind of into LinkedIn and stuff. Oh, this is this job called a community manager where they make content and they own social channels. I do a lot of that, but in the world of sport and media. So I kind of put the feelers out, and there was. I've always a big fan of Codemasters, which is just up the road in Salem, and a role came up there, and I think. There were 2 roles that came up. I applied for the first one, didn't get it, went for the second, and very, very fortunately got the role. But it was kind of the journalism role through university and very kind of media focused, leading to sort of like a similar kind of adjacent role in community management.
So let's zoom in a little bit. That interview process, or maybe step back slightly, that application process for the job that you are now currently in, or maybe your first job. Let's start with the first job in industry. What tips and skills would you offer to the audience? Because there's a hugely competitive world, and you can go to university and get all these qualifications, but if you don't have those soft skills to be able to be interpersonal in an interview or to have a really good online profile, you can almost get lost, even if you've got the best talent in the world. So for yourselves, how did you break it at that point? So if we could just quickly zoom in and just go around the panel again.
I think one of the key points is be very insistent. Like, because you're going to be rejected, you will start looking job, and some jobs looks spectacular, and you have the ambition to be there, and suddenly nobody called you again, and that happens. It's still a job, even it's a video game industry. It works like a market, so there's a lot of very good professionals. And my mother used to tell me that used to tell me that if you're in a place in where you are the best in that place, it's not the correct place to be. There's always has to be I work in a team that mostly all of them, I think they are most talented than me. But instead of me feeling bad about that, it's like I want to be like them.
You want to up your game.
Yeah. So I think regarding with the interview process, when I arrived here, I'm from Chile again. So when Sumo called me, it was in the middle of the pandemic too. So it was a huge decision, like moving from another country. I have 2 kids, my wife. So it was like, are you open to do this? Like moving with your entire family? And more than the requesting a person that it's a good professional, they were requesting also a person that is able to do a sacrifice and is able to work in a team, like really sacrificing some stuff. So I moved here, and it has been the best decision because it's I never hear about Leamington before. Always when you hear about UK, it's London, I don't know. Even Warwick was a little bit like, what is it? But yeah, I think it's like be insistent, try to find what you like, and even if you start working in an uncomfortable place, keep doing, because this industry is still very little. Probably we can find, I don't know, in 10 years, we can be working together in another company and will be great. So yeah.
Fantastic. Anybody in the room heard of Silicon Spa? Okay, thank you. And we all know about Leamington, yeah? Started with Codemasters, and it's grown ever since, and it will continue to grow. Thank goodness for that. The Midlands, hey. Lucia, how about yourself?
Yeah, so I'd say it's a tough one. The first thing I would say is don't be discouraged. Be excited. Allow yourself to be excited for the position. When I saw the opening for technical art, I was like, I have no chance, but obviously this sounds amazing. So I was excited, and I think I brought that to the interview. Nobody's expecting you to know everything. Even if you go to university for games, there is a million things that you won't know until you're in the industry and you realize you're working to deadlines with a team, like you were saying, etc. So just show that you're ready to learn, that you're excited, that you're passionate. A lot of the interview is also about who you are as a person and how you're going to fit within the team. I think half of the process of interviewing, we call it studio fit, is interviews just to see who you are and how you work with people and how you approach challenges as well. So yeah, just be yourself. I know people say that all the time, but be yourself, be excited, and yeah, that's it.
I love that. And it is, working in industry is like being part of a puzzle piece, isn't it? You have to work as a team. And when you're going through that interview process, your potential employers are looking at that. So your ability to be able to, we have two ears, one mouth. We should listen more than we should speak. I should take that advice some days. But yeah, it's about making sure that, you consider others. You're always open to learning. And I think that, my grandfather at 92 was finishing his 4th degree and had 7 master's degrees. And he said, we never stop learning. And I think that's really critical. We never get to the point where we just say, I'm done now. It doesn't happen. It shouldn't happen. We should always be improving and developing our skills. How about yourself, Darby?
Well, it can be really hard to get to the interview stage, first of all. So what I did was I made a website as a sort of portfolio for what I'd done in terms of community management. So, for example, like running events within my own community and streaming, and then sort of my growth across social media to demonstrate how I could grow Soul Assembly's social channels. So obviously for community management, your website or portfolio might be quite different to something like an artist or a technical artist. But I think making sure that that is eye-catching and has all of your most important points on it is very, very important to land the interview in the first place. But yeah, when you're in the interview, it really is very much about excitement and studio fit. I know that I found when I was in my interview for Soul Assembly, we just clicked, me and my line manager together, which was really nice. It definitely helps to just bounce back off each other. And then when you're in an interview like that, you know that it's a good one.
And it's important to relax, isn't it? And we have to like the people we work with. That's really important. If we don't, we have to be really good at showing that. How about yourself, Chris? What was your journey and that focal point when you were actually at interview or preparation and interview?
Yeah, I think the key points that have probably helped me a little bit in those initial phases from the first interviews in the games industry was I was able to grow, very similar to what you said, be able to grow that portfolio of work and proof of work in a very professional environment. And when I say professional environment, that doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be a job, it needs to be in a certain industry. It's just, even if it's a personal project, it's showing that you're presenting it as if it were the most important thing in the world to you and you're treating it in a very professional way. So when I went into interviews, I was able to provide a portfolio of written work and projects and kind of a lot of self-starting things, but also work that I did when I worked at the football club. It's kind of across a range of different mediums, serving different audiences, serving different purposes. And so being able to go, okay, even though I'm not in the games industry yet, I have a lot of transferable skills and experience in a lot of things similar to what this role is about, and it's not just stuff that I've kind of scribbled down and thrown away. It's either stuff that's been done for a very important purpose and for a business, or something that I've done personally, but I've treated very seriously and I've thrown everything into to make sure it's to the best possible quality. So portfolio of work, I think, was massive. Very similar as well to what Nana said about that insistence and showing that commitment to this is the most important thing in the world to me, and I can't wait to throw myself at it if I get the opportunity. Whatever you can do to get that point across. So it's nowhere similar to Nana, making the move from Chile, but I was down in Devon and I moved to Nottingham, into the centre of the country, just to have the opportunity to be close to something. And I tried to make that point in interviews is I didn't go to Nottingham for a job. I came here to be ready for a job and kind of make that point of, I've already made that, commitment and I'm ready when you are. So whatever you can show, whether it's, through those actions or through a portfolio of work, to show that you are as serious as possible about this and you're ready to hit the ground running, even though you're new to the industry, I think is really, really important.
So commitment, drive, passion, will all get you that potential and those head and shoulders against, well, it is the competition. You know, it's a hugely competitive industry, but it just shows that if you really do believe in yourself, others will believe in you, and it's that self-fulfilling prophecy, you know, that sort of drive. So just briefly, we've touched on it a little bit. If I could just get us to just expand, how important is that online portfolio for that first sift? How important is that?
Well, especially for my area that I'm from, art area, is definitely like everything. You don't have to produce it, like you have a lot of spaces like ArtStation, Behance, and that you can just upload and try to put all the main information, what you did there, and how did you made it, like how you work in that, what programs you use, because basically when it's not like a LinkedIn profile, at least for my area, like they're going to follow you on LinkedIn and will offer you a position because your curriculum sounds very good. I have a mastery, but mastery was, for me, doesn't help at all, more than opening my mind.
Does it have to be quick and easy to find? Because obviously employers are looking for something immediately. So if you're hiding your portfolio deep within a website somewhere, they're going to skip on, irrelevant of your skill base. You know, it's got to be absolutely out there and available.
Yeah, basically I have the chance to review some curriculums, people that are applying for my same position. And basically what we do first, of course, is see like, okay, let's check the portfolio. And I can say that 90% of the people have a great portfolio. So then comes the interview, in where basically you see if them fit with the rest of the team. So it's another part, but yeah, a portfolio is definitely necessary, especially on art side.
Does anybody else have any sort of live examples of where you've either experienced that in the team employing or making that selection, or from your own personal experience?
I think the kind of, maybe, yeah, you touched on it there, looking at it maybe the other way. So I guess an example is that moving into tomorrow, I've had the opportunity to recruit for community managers across Sumo. We're doing that right now for our Newcastle studio. And just, yeah, that ease of being able to see a portfolio of work, but also it's understanding very quickly its relevance and like why is this important, and like the key details as quickly as possible is great. But also just being able to present it in a way that's very quickly engaging. It gets the point across very quickly. I've had a few people reach, like since we've been promoting the role at Newcastle, I've had some people reach out and go, hey, I've been applying for roles and, you know, I don't seem to be getting too far. I don't seem to be sticking out for the crowd. You got any tips? Sometimes it's really tricky because just the pool of applicants is just so huge sometimes, and you just got to, like you said, you got to be persistent and insistent. But one thing you can do is just be as creative about how you deliver that proposal for yourself as possible. So as an example, I've had a few people, like, we'll ask them to send through a cover letter, and instead of sending a cover letter in writing, they'll make a video. And so they go, right, here's my cover letter, here's a YouTube link. And I go, right, here's me, here's what I do, here's a nicely made video of some examples of what I've done, here's a bit of personality about me, here's some context from my experience.
So be brave.
Yeah, and just and find ways that in your style, and in ways that you're comfortable with, that help you stand out. Because sometimes, yeah, you can get loads of applicants come through, and you want to find something that makes you go, wow, that really, I remember that, and that can really help sometimes. So just sometimes thinking outside the box, and how can I be creative with the opportunity that I've got.
So within the games industry, I'd like to find out more about the equality, diversity and inclusion. So can you tell us a little bit, and the audience, about the opportunities for all within the games industry?
Yeah, at least in my team, we spend a lot of time building this team that we have on UI. There's no any single English people. Yeah, the only UK guy is from Scotland and has a very special accent, so it's very difficult. Yeah, but my boss is from France. We have people from, I don't know, from India too working with us. So it's very enriching for us that to have these different kind of cultures, and actually we work sometimes with different daily hours. So it's something that this world right now you're living, it's a lot to do. We used to work previously in a physical place that you have to achieve a daily goal. And this new world you're living will allow you, I don't know, to work to Australia, and you can manage that. So it's very rich for you, like know people from different cultures, because you have to act with different cultures. It's not like I'm Chilean, so I know how Chileans act, but working with a French boss is very different, it's very exciting, but we have different kind of humors, so I think it's very cool to know all of these different backgrounds.
So
too.
really multicultural then.
Yeah, definitely.
And Lucia?
Yeah, it's the same in Ubisoft. We have lots of co-dev partners around the world, and yeah, every day is a little bit different, and you never know what you're gonna find within the studio as well. Like there's quite a lot of diversity. When you enter a room, you see mostly guys. It's sort of what you expect, but there is quite a few women as well. And the atmosphere is fantastic. Like I had never felt more accepted and more like welcome in my life. You know, you go in and you're surrounded by friends and people who are just working on these passion projects, and being in it together just brings you, you know, so close. And yeah, and like the learning opportunities as well within Ubisoft are immense. Like they always push us to keep learning, to be out here, like today, giving talks, etc. So opportunities for everybody to learn, for sure.
So it doesn't stop at the point of getting the degree and getting the role. They're constant, continued professional development.
100%. And I think that's a beautiful part of it. You know, if we just go there, like you were saying earlier, I know it all, this is great. No, even within Ubisoft, there is encouragement to move horizontally and try different disciplines. Because ultimately, you're going to have to work with lots of different disciplines. So the more you know about those, the easier you're going to make their lives as well. Yeah.
And Darby?
Yeah, so the DE&I at Soul Assembly, we actually have groups that anyone can join to discuss how we can improve our practices within the studio and ingrain that culture into everyone joining, which is really important. And we're always like looking at what we can do to celebrate holidays that might not be our holidays, but they are somebody within our studio celebrating it. So I think that's really important. But also in terms of growth, as you were saying, well, as I started in community management, I didn't really have too much experience in Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, but I recently started a course in graphic design to help me improve those skills there. So it really is, the companies in games, they really do help you to broaden your horizons and go into different avenues that you might not have too much experience in. And I guess that also highlights that they are just willing to take a chance on you if you show enough passion for what you're going into, which is really, really, really good.
It's like a huge, big family.
Yeah.
Okay, and Chris?
Yeah, just very quickly, I'd echo the points that the panel has made, and also point out that many companies, including ours, have specific initiatives and programs that are designed purely about diversity, equality and inclusion. I think that whilst it's not perfect and there is work to do, as there are in just about every industry, I think we're doing fantastic work across the industry to make sure that everybody who comes in feels welcomed and included and they belong there. I think the example with Sumo Digital, which is kind of like the company that kind of oversees lots of studios, including ours, is that we have a group and a program called Prism, which is not a group that is it's not a development studio. They don't work on a specific game. Their job purely is to basically ensure that our company supports every single one of our employees and keeps hitting home the importance of diversity, equality and inclusion, and making sure that everybody from every walk of life is listened to, that has the resources that they need, have the support that they need. That is their role. It's not about shipping games for them. It's about making sure that that everybody in the team everybody across the company is listened to and that their voice is heard right up to the very top of the company. And then every studio as well at Sumo has like dedicated people that are there to they don't necessarily, code or do something that specifically connects to changing something about the game, but their role is to support us as a team and make sure that we're listened to and we've got the support when we need it. So, and that I hear that relatively commonly when I talk to other studios in the industry, and they've got similar initiatives. So, which is really positive to hear. Again, work to be done. There's still more that we can do, and there's some awesome people in the industry that are trying to champion that and make it better, but some really, really positive steps. And yeah, especially with Sumo, I was trying to echo that in our interviews, that I wouldn't, I would recommend us to anybody because I feel like people would be welcomed in and they'd have the support that they need.
That's fantastic. If you would recommend that, then that says so much, doesn't it? So myth-busting time. So we're thinking, my son, daughter comes along, I want to work in the games industry. You want to play games? that question and that thought. Where is that going to go? Where's that going to lead us? So there's lots of opportunities within the industry. We've got programming, we've got design, we've got art, but there are much broader and other opportunities within industry as well. We've touched on some of those today. We've looked at some of the sort of the journalistic side as well. Are there any other sort of comments that you can share with our audience about the other opportunities as well as just the traditional talent and skills within industry?
Thank you.
Over to you, apparently.
I was counting on the time to prepare my answer. Yeah, absolutely. There is so much niche opportunity, so many niche opportunities within the industry that you wouldn't think about. Like, I am an economy designer now. My other economy designer friend in UB went to uni for economics and finance, and half of the design team at the moment went to university for physics. And it's all about bringing the transferable skills, the problem solving, approaching a challenge in a logical, organized manner, for example. But then there's so many other areas like audio design, for example. You'll always need HR, finance, recruitment. Like, it's such a diverse industry, so creative. I think it thrives in the mixture of different disciplines and different life experiences. So yeah, absolutely.
I'm thinking we've probably run over a little bit. Are we running over? Are we okay for time? We're okay, good. Any other thoughts on the transferable or the other skills within industry?
Yeah, I guess it's just sort of like the broad scope of roles within the games industry that you might not have heard of any of those roles before. I know that I certainly hadn't heard of half the roles before. I mean, when I was growing up, I didn't even know that you could be an artist for video games. So I think even just knowing that now is super important. But yeah, like you were saying, like there's a whole ton of roles that might not have a direct impact on the game, but if you're going into HR but you want to work in games, you can still do that, and you can do HR for games, which is really, really cool. Yeah.
And Chris?
Yeah, I think the funny thing that comes across to me when I speak to people who don't work in our industry and I listen to them and the successful careers that I had, every single person that I speak to, I go, I can think of a role for you in the games industry that would be really good. Like it's grown so much now, and it's such a powerhouse now, the games industry, that, like you said, there's a role, regardless of what your passion is or what your skill set is, there's something there for you, absolutely.
And to move around within the company as well, I imagine, because you can try something and this doesn't actually work for me, and then there's other opportunities.
Yeah, I know, like using community as an example, I know a lot of community managers who began in community and then maybe moved into the world of production, or have moved into product management or marketing and comms. So yeah, when I first knew about the games industry, I thought, it's just, it's programmers, it's coders, it's artists, and it's people who work directly in like game engines and stuff like that. It took me a while to realize that it's not that at all. And like you said, it's that internal world of like HR and legal and administration that's really important. And then there's the world of publishing and marketing, which has so many like softer skills and communication skills. So there is something for absolutely everybody, regardless of what your skill set is. If you have a skill set and you're passionate about the world of games, there's a role for you. You will absolutely find it.
Yeah, just a little addition. I usually recommend to go, for example, Sumo has a career page, so with a brief description of every position they are looking for. And sometimes we are a little bit lost about, okay, I have some art skills, I know coding too. So you can start searching on those careers and reading the briefing description that are there. And it's incredible, like some people like, oh, this is what I like to do. Even I didn't know that, I don't know, live ops departments exist, or like technical UI, that is a specific department on UI. So I recommend that mostly all of the companies have a description of what they are looking for, and it's very good to understand what they are looking and, oh, I can fit this.
Before we open up to questions from the audience, can I ask you all to just give us one sentence that for you is, this is the best part of the job that I'm in and the industry that I'm in? Can you just, those who are ready first, because I've thrown that one at you, if you can just think about what that one sentence that you take from being in this industry.
Thinking.
Pressure.
It's hard in one sentence, isn't it? You want to start?
I knew I'd catch them out.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll try and kick it. So, like, games have changed my life. Some of the best moments in my life have been like moments of achievement or moments of like social play and experiences with friends or anything like that. And to know that I'm working in an industry and I'm having a tangible impact on those experiences that other people are having with games that they love and they will cherish memories from, and I contributed to that in some way. Like, that's mad.
That was a 9 out of 10, wasn't it? That was quite good. Thank you.
That.
Yeah, that's all.
If we can't think of anything, we'll open to questions. I'm sure there's lots of things. You probably need to put it in a paragraph rather than a sentence. Do that.
Yes. I could say a little thing. I think the atmosphere of working in the video games industry is unlike any other industry I've been a part of, which granted hasn't been many, but it's such a friendly atmosphere of people who really, really love what they do. So it's just super vibrant and diverse and unlike anything else.
Oh, I'm thinking something that resume. I think what I would like to say is that live each day like, okay, I have a friend that says, this is a tomorrow problem. It doesn't mean that you're not like being responsible of your task. It's more like, okay, every day is a different thing. Video game industry especially, it's very funny because we are doing a game that usually doing a big game lasts 2 years at least. So after 2 years working in the same game, and there's also problems, there are good things, bad things, but every day is a different story. So this is, I think it's very exciting, related with other companies that usually tend to do the same each day. So yeah, live your day. Like, I don't know what to say.
No, fantastic. Thank you all. I'm now going to open to the room. So can I hand you my microphone? I've got, can everybody hear me? Now, I'm not the best at throwing, but this is a microphone. So if you have a question, I'm going to throw this in the audience. I promise that I won't send it to anybody. Have I got public liability insurance? It's right at the back here.
You got this, yeah.
Look.
Close enough.
Okay, what was your question? There's a little...
Hello. Is there a surplus of vacancies in your companies for recruiting? Like
A surplus of vacancies.
like, is there a demand for young people to come into the industry, or are you pretty much saturated? I'm just asking about opportunities for my son. I'm sorry to say he's not here. But as Herman said, most of the people in his office are from abroad. I find that really interesting. But I also wonder, is that a problem?
I wouldn't say it's a problem, though. I think looking at Nano's team, I think that's fairly unique from what I've seen. I think that's awesome, but I think it's quite a rarity. I know that both within Sumo, but also many companies in the UK and abroad, we specifically run like placement programs with universities to connect directly with programs that do games courses, so we can get to know students and they can come on placements and they can have a specific experience of our industry and kind of understand how the cogs turn. The importance of junior roles and graduate roles in the industry can never be understated. I think it's absolutely massive, and I think even more so now because the skill and the quality that we're seeing from people coming through university is better than it's ever been. So there's a confidence across the industry that, okay, if we bring in a junior or graduate, they're going to be able to really help the project straight away. Which maybe wasn't there in the past. So I'd say, yeah, there's always demand's maybe not the right word, but there's always a hunger to bring in new talent. And to have that opportunity to find the new talent in the industry is never really going to go away. Obviously, it's been a bit of a turbulent time in the industry and companies kind of restructuring and changing how they look, but that hasn't changed that demand to bring in new talent, which companies are always on the lookout for.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any more questions at the back here? It's your now responsibility to throw. I failed.
Hi, thank you. I'm just asking, it's very echoey. I'm just asking, you've spoken a lot about transferable skills and you've mentioned an awful lot about university and you're talking about graduate situations. In Warwickshire, there are hundreds of children who aren't in education because Warwickshire just do not have educational facilities for whatever disability or situation certain children find themselves in. But these are really, really skilled children, one of them clearly being mine. what opportunities are there for children who will not get education and qualification? I was speaking to Warwickshire College yesterday. I bent everybody's ear off yesterday, and I have to admit I spoke to Paolo from Sumo, and he was utterly delightful and very understanding. And so that sort of thing helps. But what are your companies doing for children who are clearly very talented but will not have qualifications and will never go to university?
I could speak on that real briefly. I'm not in recruitment, so I'm not a massive expert, I apologize, but I know that half of my team didn't go to university. In the past, there were no degrees for games anyway. There's people who haven't had the chance. Most of my family didn't go to university either. I'm the first one as well. I think we're quite open. There is lots of...
Really talking about basic education. My son hasn't been to school since he was 8 years old. So I'm not talking about people who just don't go to university. I'm talking about children who haven't the opportunity to have basic education. And there are hundreds of them just in Warwickshire alone.
I hear you. I think that we're in a really good place at the moment because there's so many resources online and things that he can access probably on his own. Building a portfolio is not something that you need to go to university for. Most of the people I know work on projects outside of work just because they love it, and that's the kind of thing that we want to see in a portfolio. Talking to recruitment earlier before I came in, it's all about what sets you apart and what makes you different. And not going to school, maybe that's what sets him apart, If he is passionate, it will show through his work and through everything that he's gone through and all the learnings that he's self-taught. I honestly think that we are open to those sort of situations. I've never heard of anyone being turned back just because they didn't have a degree, for example. So I think it's looking hopeful, but yeah.
Yeah, and actually I can bet that there's a lot of percentage even in our industry that doesn't have a title, are very autodidact, I don't know how to say it, that they learn by themselves. This kind of situation, as always, is a great opportunity to just know each other and start trying to find that interest on video games. But mostly all of the most talented people I know in the industry doesn't have a degree, never went to university. I remember a boss that didn't even finish the school, and he was so incredibly talented and also have this kind of hungry to be learning every day. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of online courses, like even in YouTube, like it's very easy to access to that and start understanding and start doing things by yourself. If you really like drawing, start drawing. Even you think it's not good enough, start drawing. I know because my kids, I have a kid from that 10 years old, and he's also he and his friend are always sending me drawings. Like, can you include this into a Stampede that we're producing? And I can say, yes, we, of course, doesn't work like that, but it's a great opportunity for them. Like, okay, they are kids, they are expecting something from the world, and we can give that. I'm always find inspiration in little kids and younger people, but for sure, I think, especially this industry, it's very open to receive people that, at least for me, I never saw a portfolio based on what you study. It's just a visual thing, and the feeling you have with the person. Sometimes you meet person and you know that he can be like on the top level someday because has this kind of, I don't know, that feeling that okay, this guy is great. So yeah.
And next question, please. At the back here. Thank you.
Hello. Sorry, it's quite loud. So, leading on from your question, I'm really pleased you asked that because I'm a local Warwick District Councillor. So you fall within my portfolio. So it's amazing to be here. Thank you very much for attending, everybody. But I'm also a special educational needs teacher. So your question leads on to mine. So many of our students are extremely passionate within playing games, understanding about games, and they're highly focused, particularly those on the autistic spectrum. Now, do you provide, so there are opportunities to create your portfolio online, which some might struggle with without help. Do you provide, particularly at the SAE Institute, opportunities to access those apprenticeships maybe?
And we don't offer apprenticeships directly at SAE, but what we do offer is industry engagement. And in fact, our schools liaison member of my team was here 10 minutes ago in the auditorium. I wish she was here so I could ask her to answer directly. We are always bringing schools onto campus, and we're also going out into schools and giving them all of those opportunities to build those soft skills and to understand how to become more employable and to be able to build their online profiles and to build confidence and to look at those pathways moving forwards. So, and again, to mirror what Hernan said, is that it's about the person. I mean, from what we've talked about on the panel today, yes, a qualification is at this stage in the world today a kind of a threshold, but it's equally, there are people who work in industry today who don't have those qualifications, and it's about thinking outside of the box. You can go down the normal structured route, you can go to the university route, or you can go down that working with institutions like ourselves and getting those soft skills and that support and guidance and networking. You know, today, if you want to find out a little bit more about all of us and link with us, find us on LinkedIn. Let's have a conversation, start that conversation. And I imagine there's lots of games testing for your communities as well. So any young people that would want to get some, just starting those conversations and just doing a little bit extra, and that confidence with support will hopefully always win.
Is this something you might think about doing in the future, offering apprenticeships though, for those that struggle for that one-to-one contact?
It is something that we have been discussing, and in fact, because we work a lot within industry anyway, I almost see SAE degrees as apprenticeships. Okay, we're not paying the student to go through the process, but they are working constantly within industry, and that's where we have got that USP.
Okay, thank you.
Another question? So, I think there's another hand up over on this side. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? I have a question about mainly about working together within a team and how that works within your job roles and within your development environments.
We can probably all answer that, can we not?
Yeah, I guess you're basically asking like the importance of teamwork or how that team dynamic works within the games industry, basically. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think the cool thing about the games industry is that almost always your entire studio, your entire team is working towards the same end goal, which is to get your game out and make it as good as possible. So that's a really cool kind of North Star that our industry is kind of uses quite well, and that it helps kind of round our team together. And we're always kind of motivated, regardless of what discipline that you work in, to try and support each other, because you're all trying to achieve the same thing at the same time, which maybe in other industries you don't quite get that vibe, because you kind of maybe feel like quite separate from other disciplines. So I really enjoy that about the games industry, that level of teamwork across an entire studio, and then like the ability to kind of make that even more kind of concentrated. So for example, like my community team that I have, having that ability to kind of really mold a team for our project and help our team understand these are our goals, but this is what we need to do to help the other disciplines, to help us as a group achieve what we need to achieve. So we talked a lot about, in terms of, key skills that are needed to get into the industry, and talked a lot about soft skills and communication, teamwork and problem solving as a team, and making sure that you're using empathy skills and things like that to understand, okay, what I do affects the team and affects the project in this way. Absolutely vital. So it's great that you've kind of highlighted that, because it's a vital thing regardless of what role you have in the industry.
Unfortunately, because of time, we have maybe two more questions. One more question. Oh, it better be a really brilliant one. I'm sure it will be. At the front here, no pressure. He's better at me at throwing.
Okay. As you mentioned, there are a lot of university courses which are kind of appearing in the games industry. From your experience, what are some like the most notable or up-and-coming universities or university courses in the games industry?
I can't answer that one.
I know in Newcastle, we have lots of studios in Newcastle, and they work with Northumbria Uni and with Newcastle Uni a lot, and they have partnerships. So a lot of the time is because of where the studios are based, and nearby you'll usually find like a little hub of degrees. I remember back in my day, Brunel was quite excellent for game design, for example. But yeah, if you come to see us at the stands later, I'm sure we have like more recruitment people who are more in touch with unis, because yeah, I'm a bit out of touch now.
Should I give a plug to SAE? Because I've worked with you.
Go on then, Chris. I paid him earlier.
I have. So SAE obviously is local. I've worked with Leanne and a lot of the students there recently on a specific project for our game, and they were fantastic. And they run courses that are, some are relatively similar to what you see in other universities and other campuses, but some are not. There's some things you might find that are very unique to that place. So that's really cool. Loads of other universities that we've spoken with. You mentioned quite a few. Staffordshire Uni is really great as well. We spoke with a lot of cool students there, but yeah, I know you couldn't do it, so I'll give a shout out to SAE.
Can I also say, regardless of what university you do choose, it's really important that you don't just go onto an undergraduate course and just hold your breath for 3 years doing your modules. I would absolutely strongly encourage that you are engaging with industry, you're offering your time for free. I mean, I started out in the radio industry and I worked for 2.5 years, and I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go and work on the breakfast show. And I did that because I wanted to get into that industry, and I think you have to put that foot forward, and you have to make sure that you are trying to build that profile, build those connections while studying, because you're not necessarily going to fall out straight into industry unless you start to build those bridges in that actual 3 years or 2 years that you're studying.
And I would add as well, if what you're doing is truly what you're passionate about, it won't feel like a chore. Because you hear these stories, it's like, oh, they go to uni and then they do all these passion projects afterwards, and oh, how do they manage it all? I think it comes quite naturally, and that's how you know that you've chosen your right degree, I would say.
I would like to thank the audience for today for your time. I'd also like to thank Hernan, Lucia, Darby and Chris as well. I'm sure they'll be hanging around afterwards, so if you have any questions, do apologise that we did run out of time. But can we have a round of applause for our panel, please?